Hello, folks, and welcome to Flash Editorials for January 25th, 2013. I'm Russell Longcore, the owner and editor of Dump DC. Flash Editorials is presented by www.dumpdc.com. Dump DC is the world leader in secessionist thought. We show the world that secession is the only hope for individual liberty and property rights here on this planet. Now, let's go right straight to the news. In the nation, on Thursday, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton dutifully trotted up to the Senate to testify in the Benghazi embassy affair, in which, if you don't remember, Ambassador Christopher Stevens and 3 other Americans were murdered. Now, if you saw any of the footage, you probably had to reach for your Pepto-Bismol to control the nausea. Much of the same thing happened at the House hearings later in the day, which is this. Republicans asked questions, accepted lame answers, did very little follow-up, and did not require Clinton to offer any proof of her testimony. Now, the Democrats, on the other hand, fawned over her and told her how great she was, and she, being a smart lawyer, dummied up. She said she didn't see any of the cables from the embassy begging her for more security personnel, even though those cables were addressed directly to her. Now, as an aside, what the hell's a cable? Now, I realize what it used to be. It used to be a cablegram. It used to be a telegraph, actually, or a telegram. But are they still using 1913 technology, or are they actually doing things like encrypted emails or encrypted texts or encrypted faxes? I'm thinking that this is something that is, I'm throwing the bullshit flag. I'm just throwing the flag. There is not a chance in the world but that she didn't see this. But plausible deniability has been something that has saved Mrs. Clinton's derriere on more than one occasion. If you think back to her testimony that she gave about the healthcare debate during her husband's presidency, and also think about the testimony she gave after the Vince Foster murder. The words, "I don't recall," got a pretty good workout back then too. But what Thursday's event accomplished is now that Hillary has been washed clean of culpability in the Benghazi affair, as far as the Senate and the House are concerned, and as far as the media is concerned. Nobody's been fired. Nobody is going to be fired over this. And she is now the presumptive candidate for president for 2016. She's paid her dues, and she's going to get it this time. And the words of her testimony are the best way to sum all this up. Quote, "What difference does it make?" End quote. In international news, it's about the second anniversary, right about now, is about the second anniversary of the Egyptian overthrow of President Hosni Mubarak. 2 years later, and Egypt is still in chaos. New President Mohamed Morsi has made many changes, but the changes have not set Egypt on the track towards self-sufficiency. This is a nation of some 80 million people that has not been able to produce enough food to feed itself for decades. And its number one industry, which is tourism, evaporated since the overthrow, Egypt being a very dangerous place for tourists. When the numbskulls in DC and the media use the term Arab Spring, they want you to envision new growth and springtime. But there's another definition for the word spring that I think is much more accurate, and that's this. It's a device that releases energy suddenly, sometimes violently and unexpectedly. American foreign policy has made a hash of the entire Middle East on purpose. The chaos benefits Washington, but DC is always clueless about unintended consequences, and this time will be no different. In the economy, the number of actual new unemployment claims filed under state programs unadjusted totaled 436,766 in the week ending January 12th. Now, this is a decrease of 119,944 over the previous week. Well, that's great news on its face, but what does it actually mean? Did 119,000 people just now get work? Or did 119,000 people completely stop looking for work? Or was it some kind of a mix of the two? Are employers hiring again? See, nobody really knows. But even with some good news, you still have to deal with the fact that another 436,000 people filed new claims just last week. And here's tonight's commercial message. Have you ever had a situation where you discovered that you were paying a bunch more for something that other people were paying? Or here's an even worse discovery, that you were paying for something that other people were getting for free. Well, unless your mobile phone service is through the company called Solvay, you will eventually discover one or the other. In case you didn't know, Solvay is the newest mobile phone service provider in America. It's also the fastest growing among all its competitors, and those competitors include giants like AT&T and Verizon. And just last week, Solvay received an award from J.D. Power and Associates for being number one of all the mobile service providers for customer service. And remember, Solvay only launched nationwide last September 21st. To learn more about Solvay service and how you can get unlimited, now get this, how you can get unlimited mobile phone service on a 4G network nationwide for either $49 a month or free, just scroll down in this article where you see the thing about the commercial message. There's a link there. Click on the link and you'll find more details. And thank you very much. By the way, just as an aside, why would you choose to pay a phone bill? Do you remember back in the times where, like 20, 25 years ago, when we all still paid for long distance service, and then that deregulated, and then we could choose which long distance company we would get our long distance for, and the prices plummeted down to where it was like cents on the dollar. And then now, scroll forward to today, and you see that if you have a mobile phone, you don't pay anything for long distance in the United States. Long distance is free. Long distance is free. Now, you don't pay now, would you still pay a long distance service if somebody just sent you a bill? Well, of course not. You would think I was crazy for even suggesting such a thing. But you're still paying a mobile phone service bill, and you don't have to. Think about that. You don't have to. You could just buy your phone and enjoy your phone and have phone service free. So if that is appealing to you, click on that link and we'll talk some more. In business news, American home builders followed the housing bubble 10 years ago and completely overbuilt family homes, single-family homes. Now, there's still an inventory nationally of years and years of homes that are standing empty, and that says nothing about the homes that come on the market because of the normal course of living. But now American home builders see that with the unemployment rate so high and credit tight, fewer people can qualify for a mortgage, but they still need a place to live. So the builders are switching to building multifamily. They're building apartments now. The housing bubble has created a demand for multifamily housing now, and the American builders are now swinging their hammers that way. This is what happens when government distorts credit markets. You get wild swings in supply and demand. The housing market may not ever recover since most people think that recovery means brisk sales at pre-crash levels. And that's not going to happen, period. Housing values are grossly inflated, and it's the inflation that needs to be wrung out of the dollar, not a housing recovery. The only way that you're going to see property values and pre-crash level pricing is if inflation goes crazy, and the house that you had, that was worth $250,000 is now worth $1 million, but it's still the same house. But that just means that inflation went crazy and your dollar's worth a lot less. But So it's the inflation that needs to be wrung out of the dollar and not a housing recovery. But folks, stay tuned. The coming economic collapse is going to take care of that very nicely. In sports, it's the Baltimore Ravens and San Francisco 49ers in this year's Super Bowl. Should be a great game and a great day for a new crop of really funny commercials. I remember, the only commercial I remember that I truly remember is from many years ago, and it was some commercial about, it was cowboys, and they were out on horses out on the prairie, and they were herding cats. And I don't remember what the company was or what they were trying to sell. I just remember cowboys herding cats, and it was just hilarious. But see, that's where advertising goes when it gives you a great message and you don't remember who did it. Didn't really do them a lot of good, did it? Okay. And also in sports, let me do this. This is important because it's kind of Atlanta based. Now, Arthur Blank is the owner of the NFL franchise Atlanta Falcons. Blank is a billionaire, and Forbes says he's worth $1.5 billion. Now, the Falcons play in the Georgia Dome, which was built in 1992, and there is not one thing wrong with this facility. It's a stadium that seats 75 or 80,000 people. It's got all of the concessions. It's got all the things that you would think a normal stadium would have. However, Mr. Blank wants a new stadium, and he's asking the Georgia taxpayers to pony up hundreds of millions of dollars, at least in bond guarantees, to help finance his new stadium. I, for one, am diametrically opposed to this deal. Think about it. The Falcons, in years where they actually make the playoffs, which is like last year, this year, and they got their asses kicked by the 49ers and didn't deserve to be in the Super Bowl, but I digress. They're going to play somewhere between 8 and 12 games in this stadium between September and January of any given year. That means they're going to be, out of 365 days that this stadium stands there, the Falcons are actually going to be in it 8 or 12 days. Now, the last time I checked, the Falcons organization is a for-profit corporation. I recommend that Arthur Blank stop asking Georgia taxpayers to build him a stadium, and he should finance a new dome out of his own pocket or his own credit. And finally, in entertainment news, this week at the inauguration event of President Stephen Fetchit, pop singer Beyonce Knowles sang the national anthem. But there seems to be a big furor because she lip-synced the song. Big effing deal, folks. Let me give you a little bit of insight on live performances at big venues. Many of the performances are previously recorded. Back in 1996, for example, Atlanta hosted the Summer Olympics. And at the time, I was a tenor in the Atlanta Symphony Chorus. Everybody that sang anything at either the opening or closing ceremonies recorded their songs in a studio. Now, when we, the chorus, were featured at the opening ceremonies, we were singing live, but along with the recorded music. So anybody that was around us in the stands heard us singing. And the people that were around Beyonce Knowles heard her singing. But that's not the point. We were singing along with the recorded music. Get a grip, America. It ain't like you paid money to see this live performance at Washington this last week. And besides, don't you have other things to think about? Like how you're going to survive come the economic collapse? Or is this just a Scarlett O'Hara moment? Fiddly-dee, I'll just think about that tomorrow. Well, thanks for watching. That's all for tonight. I am Russell D. Longcore. For all of us here at Dump DC, good night and good luck. Dump DC, 6 letters that will change history. Copyright 2013, Russell D. Longcore. Permission to reprint it in whole or in part is gladly granted, providing full credit is given. See ya!